mind your language in front of the boy.
Jesus Christ!
That includes blasphemy as well.
There are some movies that can be rewatched an infinite number of times. No matter how you feel, no matter what time of day or night, there are just some movies that you could happily put on and be guaranteed a good time. But this got me thinking, what exactly makes a film rewatchable in the first place? Well, for me, one of the movies I keep coming back to is Guy Ritchie's 2000 crime movie, Snatch. I have lost count of the number of times I've seen it, but I would not be surprised if it's close to triple digits. I can quote pretty much the whole thing from memory, but I will still put it on a few times a year and have a blast every time. But is Snatch the most rewatchable film of all time? Well, to answer that, we need to break down the criteria that make a movie rewatchable. But first, let's clarify 3 things. 1. There's a lot of crossover between what makes a film good and what makes a film rewatchable, but they are not the same thing. There are loads of movies that are amazing, powerful, moving pieces of cinema that I would not want to rewatch too often. This essay is not looking at what makes a good film, it's looking at the qualities that make a film infinitely rewatchable. The second thing I want to emphasize is that this is of course very subjective. Your opinion will be different. That's good, it should be. What I am trying to do here is break down the qualities that make a movie rewatchable using examples from my film watching experience. That note brings us to the third disclaimer. Nostalgia is a powerful factor in rewatchable films, especially nostalgia for the movies that you grew up with or that you rewatch with the family every year at Christmas. Now, these movies are very rewatchable, but I'm not really going to be talking about them because the reason you keep coming back to them probably has as much to do with a personal connection you have to them that dates back to your childhood as it does with the rewatchable qualities of the film itself. So with that out of the way, let's break down the 6 things that make a movie rewatchable, and try and answer the question of whether Snatch is the most rewatchable film of all time.
Did you understand a single word of what he just said?
Number 1. The story has to be compelling enough to be interesting more than once, but can't go too deeply into heavy thematic topics. You need to be able to watch it in any mental or physical state. So this rules out a lot of movies that, while great, are not suitable for rewatching in all settings. They take films like Saving Private Ryan, Seven, or The Godfather. These are all movies I have seen multiple times and will rewatch again, but sometimes I'm just not in the mood for stuff like this. Number 2. Humour. Lots of comedies are very rewatchable, but even if it's not explicitly a comedy, the film still needs to have regular moments that make you laugh in order to be rewatchable. When you know the joke is coming, it builds up anticipation and excitement. If you have a few moments like that every so often, you remain engaged in the movie. So humour is why comedies like The Big Lebowski and Ferris Bueller's Day Off are so rewatchable, as well as non-comedies that still have humour like Back to the Future. Number 3. Quotability. You may have seen the meme that before the internet, guys used to just sit around all day quoting Anchorman at each other. See, the quotes from these movies were like a shared language, and on rewatch, these quotes make the film feel like an old friend or a favourite song, and give it another layer of comforting familiarity. Now again, this is mostly true for comedies. I mean, think of Monty Python.
'Tis but a scratch.
A scratch? Your arm's off!
No, it isn't.
But this is also partly why Quentin Tarantino movies are so rewatchable. They're just packed full of quotable moments like this.
Say what again? Say what again? I dare you!
Number 4. Compelling characters. In order for a film to remain engaging time and time again, we need to stay invested in the characters and their stories. A rewatchable movie needs to reward us for returning to these characters over and over again. This is probably why you keep coming back to movies like Lost in Translation, The Shawshank Redemption, and 500 Days of Summer.
Holy shit.
Number 5. A rewatchable movie needs to have a satisfying ending. This isn't necessarily a happy ending, but when the credits roll, you need to feel satisfied and content with what you have just watched, and ideally it leaves you wanting more. Christopher Nolan is brilliant at delivering endings, but let's not forget David Fincher or, again, Tarantino.
I think this just might be my masterpiece.
Number 6. Tempo. This doesn't necessarily need to be action, but the film needs to be energetic and regularly change up a gear in order to remain interesting. Lots of great movies have those scenes that suddenly stop the movie in its tracks and are tempting to skip over. A rewatchable film can't have scenes like this. It needs to constantly be increasing the tension and pacing as the story goes on. This is also how we distinguish between rewatchable scenes in movies and the rewatchability of a whole film. I have watched the lightsaber duel in The Phantom Menace more times than I can possibly count, but as an adult, I've probably only watched the whole movie start to finish maybe 3 or 4 times. But movies like The Matrix, Jurassic Park, or even non-action movies like The Social Network and Toy Story all keep the momentum up from the start and don't have any wasted moments.
And there seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
Hello?
So let's rank Snatch against this criteria to find out if it is the most rewatchable movie of all time. And the answer may surprise you.
Well, let's not stand on ceremony, mate. Let's start the show.
So number 1, it has the perfect amount of plot sophistication to make it rewarding on rewatch, but never gets into serious themes or overly complex moral questions that might make it difficult to watch if you're, say, in a bad mood or hungover. The parallel storylines let us explore a wide variety of interesting characters, and allow Guy Ritchie to deliver several genuinely moving moments along the way. Then you have scenes like this, where the first time around it's not entirely clear what has happened, but on rewatch you can see how cleverly the film built these 3 stories up to come together at this point. Secondly, it's hilarious, but in a very unique way. Not like jokes as such, but just that constant undercurrent of Guy Ritchie humour. It's got some great slapstick, some witty one-liners,
Too tight? You could land a jumbo fucking jet in there.
and, well, Brad Pitt.
Hey, look, she wants a heck of 2 roof lights, the stylish house frame furniture, and Scar cushions with mats and shack by cover.
Third, quotability. There is no doubt that Snatch is quotable.
What's happening with those sausages, Charlie?
Dominique Sturgis.
This has as much to do with Guy Ritchie's brilliant writing as it does with the actors he casts. Watching this interview with Ritchie, he talks about how important voice and accent is to him when casting for a role.
That accent and that timbre, the cadence in his voice. I mean, Robbie G, firstly has a brilliant accent, he has a brilliant voice and a brilliant delivery.
And you can see this in Snatch. Every character's voice is so distinctive, and that in turn helps to make their lines memorable and quotable.
Do you know what nemesis means?
Anything to declare?
Yeah, don't go to England.
Thanks.
What?
Yeah, Dags.
Dags. Like Dags.
I thought you said he was a getaway driver. What the fuck can he get away from, eh?
Proper fucked. Yeah, Tommy. Before the Germans get there.
Fourth, characters. Every single person in Snatch with a speaking role is memorable and distinctive, no matter if they are a major or minor character. Their moral questionability keeps them compelling, and every character is well-rounded and has clear motives and values. The casting is just brilliant, and I'm not just talking about the stars like Brad Pitt and Benicio Del Toro. I mean, this was the second film appearance for both Jason Statham and Vinnie Jones, their first being Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. Ritchie has such an eye for talent and casting. I mean, look at how pretty much everyone in Rock and Roller went on to become an A-lister. Fifth, is the ending satisfying? Absolutely. The good guys win, the bad guys lose, the story arc's all wrapped up, but it ends with just enough of a teaser that it leaves us wanting more.
Do you know anyone who'd be interested?
Finally, the tempo. Right from the opening scene, Snatch keeps the pace up. The concurrent storylines really help this. We never get a chance to get bored with one story because we're quickly moving on to the next one. Not only does every scene have a clear purpose to advance the plot, pretty much every individual line serves either a character or plot function. The scenes rarely last more than a couple of minutes, the camera is almost always in motion, the dialogue is fast-paced, and there are regular bouts of action. The editing and writing is also like Brad Pitt. There's not an ounce of fat to be seen. I mean, this sequence isn't a second longer than it has to be, but it advances the plot and the characters and just gets me laughing every single time.
Do you hear that, Doug? I'm coming to London. Heavy.
Shut up and sit down, you big bald fuck.
So here at the end of the video, we are left with just one question. Is Snatch the most rewatchable movie of all time? No. It's Hot Fuzz.
No luck catching them swans, then?
It's just the one swan, actually. Never find you going up in the air and going,
Everybody and their mums is packing round there.
Like who?
Farmers? Who else?
Farmers' mums.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then click all the buttons to let me know that you liked it. Now what's happening with those sausages, Charlie?